The plan was simple but dangerous. Kev and Rin would create a distraction near the council chamber. Meanwhile, June, Hana, Jin, and Mina, along with 3 unbound aliens, would enter the laboratory to rescue Dr. Lee and the other humans. The lab guards change at this time, Pell explained, showing them a map of the hub. There will be fewer guards for about 10 minutes. June checked the small laser cutter Pell had given him. It wasn't a weapon, but it could help them open doors. Remember, Rin warned, if you're caught, do not let them take you alive. Once they put you in those tubes, your mind will never be the same. The group split up. As June and his team moved through the service tunnels, they heard alarms start blaring in the distance. That's our distraction, Pell said. Now we move quickly. They reached a panel in the wall. Pell opened it, revealing the back entrance to the laboratory. Inside, they could see scientists moving around quickly, responding to the alarms. Now, June whispered. They rushed into the lab. 2 alien scientists turned in surprise. Before they could call for help, Mina and Jin knocked them out. There, Hana pointed to the back of the lab where the tubes stood. Dr. Lee was in one of them, floating in clear liquid, his eyes closed. June and Hana ran to the tubes while Jin and Mina guarded the door. Pell and the other unbound aliens went to the computers. How do we get him out? June asked, looking at the complicated controls on Lee's tube. Pell joined them. Step back. He pressed several buttons, and the liquid began to drain from Lee's tube. When it was empty, the front opened, and Lee fell forward. June caught him. Lee, can you hear me? June shook his friend gently. Dr. Lee's eyes fluttered open. Captain, what? Where am I? We're rescuing you. Can you stand? Lee nodded weakly. They were in my head, trying to find a way to control humans. Did they succeed? Hana asked, worried. No, Lee said. Human brains are too different. They couldn't make it work. While they talked, Pell and the others were freeing the humans from the other tubes. These people looked confused and frightened. Who are you? A woman asked, shivering. Friends, June said. We're getting you out of here. Suddenly, the main door to the lab opened. 4 security guards rushed in, followed by one of the 7 founders, the snake-like alien from the council meeting. Stop them, the founder ordered. Jin and Mina tried to block the door, but the guards pushed past them. Pell and one of the unbound aliens rushed to help. Get the humans out, Pell shouted to June. We'll hold them off. June hesitated, but Hana pulled him toward the back exit. We have to go. We can't help them if we're caught too. As they hurried the rescued humans toward the exit, June saw something terrible. One of the guards grabbed Hana from behind. She fought hard, but another guard joined in. They started dragging her toward one of the empty tubes. Hana, June shouted. He tried to reach her, but more guards blocked his way. Go, Hana yelled at him. Get everyone out. I'll be okay. June knew she was lying. If they put her in that tube, they would experiment on her mind. Jin, Mina, get Lee and the others to the unbound base, June ordered. Then he turned and charged at the guards holding Hana. The fight was short but violent. June managed to knock down 2 guards, but the others overwhelmed him. The last thing he saw before something hit his head was Hana being forced into one of the tubes. When June woke up, he was back at the unbound base. His head hurt badly. What happened? He asked, trying to sit up. Jin's face appeared above him. We got most people out, but they took Hana. And they think they finally found a way to control humans. What do you mean? June asked, fear growing in his stomach. The founder said something about her being the bridge they needed. That by studying her mind, they can finally create commands that work on humans. June stood up, ignoring the pain in his head. Then we need to get her back. Now, Captain Jung Kim stood on the bridge of the UES Defender, his eyes fixed on the strange ship that floated silently at the edge of Earth's solar system. It was unlike anything humans had ever built. The ship glowed with a soft blue light and had no visible engines or weapons. "Captain, Command wants us to approach and make contact," said Hannah Park, his second in command. Her face was calm, but her fingers tapped nervously on her tablet. June nodded. "Tell the crew to be ready for anything." The Defender moved slowly toward the alien vessel. Earth had prepared for this day for many years, but now that it was here, June felt a knot in his stomach. This could change everything. "They're sending a signal," said the communications officer. It seems they're inviting us to dock with them." June looked at Hannah. "What do you think?" "It could be a trap," she said. "But if they wanted to attack, they could have done it already." After a quick call to Earth Command, June made his decision. "We'll accept their invitation. Prepare a team. Standard first contact protocol." An hour later, June led a team of 6 through the docking tube that connected the two ships. The air inside the alien vessel was breathable, but had a sweet smell, like flowers. They entered a large round room where 3 tall, slender beings waited. The aliens had smooth gray skin, large eyes, and 4 long arms. They wore simple white clothes with no visible technology. One alien stepped forward. When it spoke, a small device on its chest translated its words into English. "I am Observer Dalv of the Dokani Exploration Fleet. We welcome you to our vessel." June bowed slightly. "I am Captain Jung Kim of the United Earth Defense Force. We are honored to meet you." The alien's large eyes blinked slowly. "We have studied your world for some time. Your species develops quickly. Too quickly, perhaps." Hannah's hand moved closer to her weapon, but June gave her a small signal to stay calm. "We are a curious species," June said. "We like to learn and grow." Observer Dal moved closer, studying June's face. "Yes, curious indeed. Your kind lacks the basic safety features that all advanced species evolve. We find this concerning." "Safety features?" June asked. The alien raised one of its 4 hands and made a strange gesture. "Command sequence. Deactivate aggressive functions. Stand by for instructions." June looked confused. "I'm sorry, what are you trying to do?" The alien repeated the gesture and words, this time more slowly and clearly. When nothing happened, it turned to its companions with what seemed like surprise. "Interesting," Observer Dal said. "The command has no effect. Perhaps a different approach." It tried several more phrases, each time looking more confused, when June and his team simply stood watching. Finally, the alien stepped back. "You truly have no neural override commands. How has your species survived without them?" "I don't understand what you mean by override commands," Jun said. "All intelligent species we have encountered evolved with neurological pathways that respond to specific commands. These pathways allow for the temporary suspension of aggressive or dangerous behavior. It is a survival mechanism that prevents species from destroying themselves before achieving spaceflight." The alien's voice had a new tone now. Caution. Hannah spoke up. "Are you saying most aliens can be turned off with a command?" "Not turned off," Observer Dal said. "Temporarily pacified. It is a natural evolution. Without it, species tend to self-destruct through war or environmental damage." The alien looked at the humans with new interest. "Your kind is the first we've met that lacks this feature completely. You are unpredictable." June wasn't sure if this was good news or bad. "We control ourselves through choice and laws, not biological commands." Choice. The aliens seemed to find this concept strange. How inefficient and dangerous. As the conversation continued, Jun realized something important. The aliens weren't just surprised by humans. They were afraid of them. The Dokani ship moved faster than any human vessel. The stars blurred outside the viewing windows as they traveled deep into space. 5 humans had joined the journey. Captain Jun, Commander Hannah, Dr. Lee, and 2 security officers named Jin and Mina. We will reach the council hub in 10 days, Observer Dal told them on their third day of travel. You should prepare yourselves. Many species will be very curious about you. Dr. Lee asked, can you tell us more about these other species? How do they differ from humans? Rin, the Dokani scientist, seemed happy to explain. Some breathe different air. Some have many limbs. Some communicate with colors or smells. But all share one thing. They respond to the neural commands. How did that happen? June asked. Did all species evolve the same way? Rin and Dal looked at each other. After a pause, Rin said, it is believed to be a natural development of intelligent minds, a safety measure that prevents extinction. Hannah noticed their hesitation. Later, she spoke quietly to June in their private quarters. They're hiding something about these commands. Did you see how they looked at each other? June nodded. Keep watching and listening. But be careful what you say. I think they record everything. The humans spent the next days learning about the council. They watched videos about the different alien species and studied the basic rules of council space. They learned that most planets in the council had no wars, no major crimes, and very little conflict. It sounds perfect, Jin said after one lesson. Too perfect, Minna replied. How can so many different species always get along so well? Dr. Lee had been quiet, thinking hard about everything they learned. Finally, he asked to speak with the whole human team privately. I have a theory, he said once they were alone in their sleeping area. What if these neural commands aren't natural? What if they were created? You mean someone designed them? June asked. Think about it. It's impossible for every species to evolve the exact same brain feature. That's not how evolution works. But if someone put it there. But who? And why? Hannah asked. Dr. Lee shook his head. I don't know. But I bet the oldest species in the council might have answers. On the 8th day of their journey, the Dokani ship stopped at a refueling station. The humans were allowed to leave the ship and walk around the station. It was their first chance to see other alien species. The station was huge, with high ceilings and wide hallways. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved around. Some had 6 legs. Others floated in the air. Some were as small as cats, while others towered 3 meters high. As the humans walked through the station, they noticed something strange. The other aliens moved away from them. Some even seemed afraid. They know we're different, Hannah whispered to June. A small green alien with 4 eyes approached them. It spoke through a translator device. Is it true? You are the humans who cannot be commanded. Before June could answer, Observer Dal stepped between them. They are council guests. Please do not bother them. The small alien backed away quickly. Later, as they ate dinner in the station's food area, Dr. Lee noticed something else. Look at how they interact, he said quietly. When 2 aliens disagree, one always backs down right away. There's never any real argument. June watched carefully and saw that Dr. Lee was right. Whenever a conflict started, it ended almost instantly, with one side simply giving up. That's not natural, Minna said. Even the most peaceful people sometimes argue. As they returned to the ship, June felt a growing sense of unease. The council's peace might look perfect on the surface, but something about it felt wrong. That night, June received a private message from Earth Command. Proceed with caution. Learn what you can. Be ready to leave quickly if needed. You may be walking into something bigger than we imagined. June deleted the message and looked out at the stars. In just 2 more days, they would reach the council hub and hopefully find some answers. Dr. Tally could not sleep. Something about the council bothered him deeply. While the others rested, he decided to explore. The door to their quarters was locked, but Dr. Lee had always been good with computers. He used his tablet to trick the door into opening. The hallway outside was empty. Dr. Lee moved quietly, staying close to the walls. He had seen a large laboratory area on their way to the council chamber. Perhaps he could find some answers there. After walking for 20 minutes, Avoiding the few aliens he saw, Dr. Lee found the laboratory. The door was not locked. Inside, the room was dark except for the glow of screens and strange equipment. Dr. Lee moved carefully between tables filled with tools and machines. Then he saw something that made his heart stop. In the back of the room were 5 clear tubes filled with liquid. Inside each tube floated a human. "No," Dr. Lee whispered. He rushed to the tubes and checked the faces. He did not recognize any of them. They were not from his team. Where had these humans come from? A computer nearby was on. Dr. Lee touched the screen and began reading. His eyes grew wide with horror. The files showed that the Council had been taking humans for years, small groups of people who would not be missed. They were testing ways to add neural commands to human brains. So far, all attempts had failed. Dr. Lee took pictures of everything with his tablet. He had to warn Captain June and the others. As he turned to leave, the lights suddenly came on. "Curious humans," said a voice. A tall, thin alien with 4 arms stood in the doorway. It was one of the 7 founders from the Council meeting. "Always looking where you shouldn't." Dr. Lee backed away. "What are you doing to these people? Where did you get them?" "We collect samples from all interesting species," the alien said calmly. "Humans are very interesting, so resistant to our methods. You can't just take people and experiment on them." Dr. Lee's voice rose in anger. The alien made a gesture with one hand. 2 large security guards appeared behind it. "You will join our test subjects. Perhaps your brain will yield better results." Dr. Lee ran to the back of the lab, looking for another way out. There was none. The guards caught him easily. "Let me go," he shouted as they dragged him toward an empty tube. "Do not worry, human," the alien said. "You will help us find a way to bring your species into harmony with the rest of the galaxy." Back in their quarters, Hannah woke suddenly. Something felt wrong. She checked the other rooms and found Dr. Lee missing. She woke June immediately. "Lee is gone. His tablet is gone too." June quickly woke Jin and Mina. "We need to find him. Something's happened." As they prepared to leave their quarters, Hannah's tablet beeped. It was a message from Lee. "Found humans in Elab. Council experimenting on US. Get out now." Along with the message were several shocking pictures. "We need to get out of here and find Lee," Jun said, his face grim. Just then, their door opened. Observer Dal stood there with several guards. "Captain Kim, your scientist has violated Council rules. He entered restricted areas." "Where is he?" Jun demanded. "He is being held for questioning. The Council wishes to speak with you now." Dal's voice was flat, emotionless. June looked at Hannah. They both knew this was bad, but they had no weapons, no way to fight. "We'll come," Jun said, "but we want to see Dr. Lee first." "That is not possible," Dal replied. "Please follow me." As they were led down the hallway, Jun whispered to Hannah, "First chance we get, we run. Find Lee and get back to our ship." A new voice spoke from behind them. "I can help you." They turned to see Rin, the Dokani scientist, standing in a side hallway. "Why would you help us?" Hannah asked suspiciously. Rin looked nervous. "Because what they're doing is wrong, and because some of us are starting to question the commands too. Follow me if you want to save your friend." The next day, Captain Jun Kim and his team met with the Dokani again. This time, they sat in a round room with soft lights. Observer Dal brought along their head scientist, a taller alien named Rin. "We wish to explain more about why your lack of neural commands concerns us," Observer Dal said. Rin placed a small device on the table. It lit up and showed a 3D image of different alien brains. "Every space-traveling species we know has this." Rin pointed to a small part of each brain that glowed red. "It is a control center. It responds to specific sounds or mental signals." "Like a stop button?" Hannah asked. "Yes," Rin said. "It evolved as species became more dangerous to themselves. Those without it killed each other off before reaching the stars." June leaned forward. But humans never developed this. No. And it worries us, Observer Dal said. In our history books, species without this feature cause great harm. Back on the Defender, Jun called a meeting with his officers. So they think we're dangerous because we can't be turned off, Jun said. We need to show them we control ourselves in other ways. Dr. Lee, the ship's scientist, shook his head. I think they're hiding something. Why would every species evolve the same feature? That's not how evolution works. Hannah agreed. And did you notice how they kept their distance from us? They're afraid. Meanwhile, Earth's leaders were having their own debate. The news of aliens had spread worldwide, and people reacted with both fear and excitement. We should see this as our advantage, said General Kang during the emergency United Nations meeting. If other species can be controlled with simple commands, humans have the upper hand. Or they might decide we're too dangerous to let live, argued President Han. We need to proceed carefully. Back on the Dokani ship, Observer Dal was speaking with their commanders through a secure channel. The humans lack the basic control mechanism, just as our scouts reported, Dal said. They are completely immune to all standard pacification protocols. The Dokani commander's voice was stern. This is most troubling. The council must be informed. Are they aggressive? They show restraint, but their history is full of conflicts. They fight wars among themselves that last for years, and they continue to function afterward. They adapt to violence in ways we cannot understand. Bring some of them to the council, the commander ordered. We must study them more closely before deciding what to do with their planet. The next morning, Observer Dal invited Jun and his team back to their ship. Our leaders wish to extend an invitation, Dal said. They would like a small group of humans to visit our homeworld and meet the Galactic Council. Jun was surprised. The Galactic Council. There are more species out there. Many more, Rin said. 37 spacefaring civilizations form the council. Dokani are just one member. Hannah whispered to Jun, why would they invite us so quickly? Something feels wrong. Jun nodded slightly, but kept his face neutral. We would be honored to accept your invitation. When would this visit take place? We can depart tomorrow, Observer Dal said. The journey will take 14 of your Earth days. That night, as the human team prepared for the journey, Dr. Lee pulled Jun aside. Captain, I've been analyzing their technology. Their ship has defensive capabilities far beyond ours, but they seem almost primitive in some ways. How so? Jun asked. It's like they never needed to develop certain technologies. Maybe because they could always just tell their enemies to stop fighting. Jun thought about this. If you never truly have to defend yourself because you can just turn off your attackers. Exactly, Dr. Lee said. You wouldn't need to innovate like we have. Jun looked out at the stars through the window. We're going into something bigger than we realized. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them what we've learned and that we're heading to meet this council. And Captain, Hannah added as she joined them, remind them to be ready, just in case this invitation isn't as friendly as it seems. Jun, Hannah, Jin, and Minna followed Rin through narrow service tunnels behind the main hallways of the council hub. The tunnels were dusty and dim, clearly not used often. Where are you taking us? Jun asked, still not fully trusting the Dokani scientist. To others who will help, Rin said. There are more like me, those who question the council. After walking for nearly an hour through the maze of tunnels, they reached a hidden door. Rin placed her hand on a small panel, and the door slid open. Inside was a large room filled with aliens of different species. Some looked up when the door opened, and their eyes widened at the sight of humans. A tall, blue-skinned alien stepped forward. You brought them here, he asked Rin, sounding worried. They need our help, Kev. And they might be able to help us too, Rin replied. Kev studied the humans carefully. I am Kev, of the Volari. Welcome to the Unbound. The Unbound? Hannah asked. That's what we call ourselves, Kev explained. We are free from the neural commands that control the rest of our species. June looked around the room. There were about 20 aliens from at least 10 different species. Some were working on computers, others on strange devices. How is that possible? June asked. We thought all aliens had these commands. A small green alien with 4 arms joined them. Some of us were born different. Mutations that made us immune. Others of us had accidents that damaged the command centers in our brains. We found each other over time. We have been hiding for generations, Kev added. If the council knew about us, they would capture us for study or worse. Like they captured our friend, Minna said. Rin nodded. Yes. Your Dr. Lee is being held in the main laboratory. The council wants to understand how human brains work and how to control them. We need to rescue him, Jin said firmly. And the other humans too, Hana added, remembering the pictures Lee had sent. Kev looked uncertain. That would be very dangerous. The laboratory is heavily guarded. We have something you may find interesting, said another voice. From the back of the room came an alien unlike any the humans had seen before. It walked on 6 legs and had a body covered in soft fur. I am Pel. My species, the Zathi, were among the first to be adjusted by the founders. Pel led them to a table covered with old documents and tablets. These are historical records we have collected. They tell the true story of the council. Jun picked up one of the tablets and began to read. His face grew dark. According to this, the neural commands aren't natural at all. The founding 7 created them. Yes, Pel said. 10,000 years ago, the 7 founders were the first to achieve space travel. They met other young species just beginning to explore their own solar systems. But instead of helping them as equals, they feared them as potential threats. So they engineered a way to control them, Hannah said, understanding now. Pel nodded. They created the neural command centers and introduced them into each species they encountered. Over generations, all members of those species were born with them, believing it was natural. That's horrible, Minna whispered. What about Earth? Why didn't they do this to humans? Jin asked. Your planet was overlooked until recently, Rin explained. The galaxy is vast, and the council expands slowly. By the time they found you, humans had already developed too far, too quickly. June looked at the gathered aliens. So what do you want from us? Kev smiled, showing sharp teeth. We have been planning for years to expose the truth and free our people, but we lacked a way to break the commands. Then we learned about humans, a species completely immune to the commands. You want our help to free everyone, Hannah said, finally understanding. Yes, Rin said. And first, we need to free your friend Dr. Lee. He may have already learned things that could help us. June nodded. We'll help you, but we need a plan. Pel stepped forward with a small device. We have been working on this, a signal that can temporarily disrupt the command centers. It's not perfect, but it might give us an advantage. June looked at his team. They all nodded in agreement. Let's do it, he said. Let's save Dr. Lee and expose the truth. The council hub was the biggest structure any human had ever seen. It was a giant ring in space, so large that it took light several seconds to cross from one side to the other. Ships of all sizes and shapes moved around it like bees around a hive. Welcome to the center of galactic civilization, Observer Dal said as their ship approached the massive ring. The humans stared in wonder. Thousands of lights glowed across the hub's surface. Parts of it were covered in what looked like cities, while other sections had huge clear domes showing gardens and forests inside. After docking, the humans were led through long hallways to their rooms. The air smelled different here, clean but with a hint of something sweet. The council will see you tomorrow, Dal told them. For now, rest. There are guards outside your rooms for your safety. For our safety, or to keep us from wandering? June asked with a small smile. Dal's face didn't change. Both, Captain Kim. Both. Once the Dokani left, Dr. Lee quickly checked their rooms for listening devices. He found 3 and disabled them. Now we can speak freely, he told the others. But we need to be careful. I don't think we're here just for friendly talks. Agreed, Hannah said. Did you notice the security? Those weren't just regular guards. They were watching us very carefully. June nodded. Tomorrow at the council, stay alert. We need to learn what's really going on. The next morning, they were escorted to the council chamber. It was a huge round room, with seats rising up in circles like a giant bowl. Hundreds of different aliens sat in these seats, all watching as the humans entered. At the center of the room was a raised platform with 7 seats. The aliens sitting there wore special clothes with many colors. They seemed older and more important than the others. The 7 founders, Dal whispered, pointing to them. They started the council 10,000 years ago. An old alien with gray skin and 6 eyes stood up. I am High Counselor Zur of the Founding 7. Welcome, humans of Earth. You are the first new species in 500 years to be invited directly to the council chamber. June stepped forward and bowed. We are honored to be here, High Counselor. We come in peace and friendship. Zur made a sound like quiet laughter. Peace and friendship. Yes, that is what the council ensures for all species, through understanding. Another of the 7 founders spoke up. This one had a body like a large snake with 4 small arms. Tell us, humans, how has your species managed to advance technologically without destroying yourselves? With no neural commands to prevent aggression, your history must be very violent. Jun chose his words carefully. We had many wars, yes, but we learned from them. We built systems of law and ethics. We chose peace, even though we could choose violence. This caused a stir among the watching aliens. Many began talking all at once. Silence, called Zur, making a strange hand gesture. Immediately, every alien in the room stopped talking. June noticed it wasn't just that they stopped talking. They froze for a moment, as if turned off. Dr. Lee saw it too. He touched June's arm and gave him a meaningful look. Fascinating, said Zur, looking directly at the humans. You truly do lack the basic safety features that all civilized beings possess. This makes you unique and potentially valuable. Or dangerous, said the snake-like founder. Zur nodded. Yes, both perhaps, which is why we have a proposal. We would like to study you more closely, to understand how you function without neural commands. Perhaps we could even help you develop them. Hannah stepped forward. Are these commands natural? Did all species evolve them independently? The council chamber went completely silent. The 7 founders looked at each other. Finally, Zur spoke. Young human, some questions are best left for private discussions. Join us for a special meeting later. For now, enjoy our hospitality. As they left the council chamber, Jun whispered to his team. They didn't answer the question. And did you see how they all stopped talking at once? Something is very wrong here, Dr. Lee said quietly. These neural commands, I think they're a way to control everyone. June nodded. And now, they want to control us too. 3 days had passed since Hannah was captured. Jun had not slept. He worked with the Unbound, making plan after plan to rescue her, but each one seemed impossible. The founders have moved her to the central command tower, Rin explained. No one gets in there without special permission. Dr. Lee, now recovered, studied the maps of the hub. There must be a way. Service tunnels, air ducts, something. Just then, a young Dokani rushed into the room. Rin, they're bringing the human female to the council chamber. The founders are going to show her off. Jun jumped to his feet. When? 1 hour from now. They're calling all council members to witness the breakthrough. Jun looked at the others. This might be our only chance. But how will we get into the chamber? Jin asked. It will be full of people. Tel stepped forward. We still have the command disruptor. It's not perfect, but it might cause enough confusion to help. Dr. Lee had been working on the device for days, trying to improve it. It should affect anyone with the neural commands, but only for about 5 minutes. 5 minutes to find Hana and get out, Minna said. It won't be enough time. June thought hard. Then he had an idea. What if we don't try to escape? What if we use those 5 minutes to tell everyone the truth instead? The Unbound looked at each other. You mean expose the founders to the entire council? Kev asked. Exactly, Jung said. If we can broadcast proof that the commands are artificial, that the founders have been controlling everyone for thousands of years, it might work, Rin said slowly. But we would need access to the main broadcast system. And proof, Dr. Lee added. Hard evidence that no one could ignore. Pell went to a locked cabinet and returned with an ancient data crystal. This contains the original research of the founders, their plans to create the neural commands. We've had it for generations, passed down in secret. If we can show this to everyone, Jun began. We'll need a distraction bigger than last time, Jin said. An hour later, they were in position. Jun, Dr. Lee, and Pell had disguised themselves as minor council staff. They stood near the back of the packed council chamber. Jin and Minna were in the control room above, having knocked out the operators there. The chamber was filled with hundreds of aliens from all species. At the center, the 7 founders sat in their special chairs. Guards brought in Hana. She looked tired but unharmed. Esteemed council members, began the snake-like founder. For centuries, we have worried about the humans, a species with no neural commands, no way to be controlled for the greater good. But today, we present a solution. Jun's hands tightened into fists as he watched. Hana stood silently, her face blank. This human female has been successfully modified, the founder continued. She now responds to our commands, proving that even humans can be brought into harmony with the rest of galactic society. To demonstrate, the founder made a gesture and spoke strange words. Hana immediately knelt down. Stand, the founder ordered. Hana stood. Stop breathing, the founder commanded. Hana held her breath. The council members murmured in approval. The founder raised a hand. You may breathe. Hana took a deep breath and then, to everyone's surprise, smiled. Thanks. It was getting difficult to pretend I couldn't breathe anymore. The founder's face showed shock. What? Obey me. Kneel. Hana remained standing. The thing about humans is we can pretend to be controlled. We can play along. But you can't actually control us. Guards, the founder shouted. Seize her. That's when Jum gave the signal. Dr. Lee activated the disruptor device. A high-pitched sound filled the chamber. Throughout the room, aliens froze in place, their faces confused. Now, June shouted into his communicator. On the giant screens around the chamber, ancient documents and videos began to play. They showed the original 7 founders planning how to control other species. June ran to the center of the room, joining Hana. For thousands of years, he shouted to the stunned council, the founders have controlled you all. The neural commands are not natural. They were created to keep you obedient. Look at the evidence, Hana called out. See the truth with your own eyes. As the disruptor's effect began to wear off, something unexpected happened. Instead of chaos, there was silence. Every alien in the room was watching the screens, seeing the proof of their enslavement for the first time. Lies. These are all lies, shouted the snake-like founder. But his words had little effect. The council members were still watching the screens, seeing the truth with their own eyes. One by one, aliens throughout the chamber began to stand up. The command disruptor had worn off, but something else was happening. They were choosing to stand on their own. You controlled us, said a tall blue alien from the middle seats. You made us think we could not disobey. It was for your own good, said High Counselor Zur. Without the commands, there would be chaos, war, destruction. That's not your choice to make, Hannah said loudly. Every being deserves the freedom to choose, even if they sometimes choose wrong. June stepped forward. Humans have fought many wars. We've made terrible mistakes. But we've also created art, music, and peace, all by choice, not by command. Suddenly, alarms began to sound throughout the hub. Guards rushed into the chamber, surrounding the humans and the now free council members. This rebellion ends now, said Zur. Guards, take them all to be readjusted. But the guards didn't move. They looked at each other, confused. The disruption had affected them too, and they had seen the evidence. We will not obey, said one guard, removing his helmet. The 7 founders now looked afraid. For thousands of years, their word had been absolute law. Now that power was slipping away. At that moment, the chamber doors burst open. Observer Dal rushed in. Founders, human ships have entered our space. Many ships. What? Zur turned to June. You brought your fleet. June was just as surprised. Those aren't our ships. Earth doesn't have a fleet that could reach here so quickly. Dal projected an image onto the main screen. Dozens of ships were approaching the hub. They were Earth vessels, but not military ones. They were research ships, trading vessels, even some private craft. Captain Kim. A voice came through June's communicator. This is Captain CO of the Earth Science Vessel Discovery. We followed your emergency beacon. Are you all right? June laughed in relief. Captain CO, your timing is perfect. Over the next few hours, something amazing happened. The council chamber became a place of true debate for the first time. Aliens from all species spoke freely, without fear or hidden control. The 7 founders were placed under guard. They would face justice for what they had done. What happens now? Hannah asked as she stood with June, watching the historic scene. Now they learn to live without commands, said Kev, joining them. It won't be easy. Some will want the old ways back. Freedom can be scary. But worth it, added Rin. 1 week later, a new council gathered. Representatives from all species sat together as equals. The human delegation, now including Captain CO and his crew, had been invited to join them. High Counselor Pell, elected by free choice, addressed the gathering. For too long we lived under hidden control. Now we choose a new path, one of true cooperation. The new council voted on its first resolution. To remove the neural commands from all species. It would take time and careful work, but it would happen. After the meeting, Jun found himself looking out a window at the stars. Hannah joined him. Earth will be joining the galactic community, she said, on our own terms. June nodded, and we'll help them build something better than before. Because we don't have an off switch? Hannah asked with a smile. No, Jun replied, because we understand the value of choice. Sometimes we make the wrong ones, but we learn and grow from them. Dr. Lee approached them with news. The first ships are leaving for Earth tomorrow. We're going home. As they walked back to their quarters, Jun thought about everything that had happened. Humans had entered the stars expecting to be the newcomers, the less advanced species. Instead, they had brought something the galaxy desperately needed: the power to choose, to resist, to be truly free. It turned out that not having an off switch wasn't a flaw after all. It was humanity's greatest gift to the stars.